11th, and it is 4:35 p.m. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda is to review the agenda, and if we have to add, remove, or move any items around the agenda, this would be the time to do that.
I will make the regular suggestion that we move the food code and the fee schedule discussion to the end. It's really just a review of what we have discussed in the past. I edited everything, but we've been moving that to the end so we can get business out of the way before we get into the working meeting.
Okay. Marion, how do you feel about that? Does that work?
I feel fine.
Works for me. So why don't we take goals and objectives A and B, move those to, we'll call it 6A and B under communicable disease, below communicable disease, if that works for you guys. Okay. Anything else, Andy?
We have a new board member. I'm hoping the schedule works out well that he can show up tonight. And I would suggest that we, under my director's issues, this introduce new member, I would just request that we keep that fluid. When he shows up, we can move that to whenever he shows up.
Sure.
And we'll introduce him. We'll
Marion,
reorg.
how's that feel for you?
Fine.
All right, that works.
And it would be, because we have a new member, there is a reorg in order, up to the pleasure of the board. Do you want to do it as soon as he shows up? Do you want to do it at the end of the meeting?
I think it would depend. If we're already involved in business, let's continue through the business and do it at the end, if that works for Marion.
Yes, it does.
That way we can reorg. We don't reorg right in the middle of something. And, you know, that way we don't have to change too much.
Or we could just...
Or we can reorg
Just
now.
right now.
That works too.
Sorry.
That's okay.
A little late from the day job.
So, Andy, why don't we move Director's Issues 1C and move that to now, before we do bill schedule or anything else.
Okay, if I could, I'd like to introduce Steve Nordberg. Steve has volunteered to fill in the remainder of Alice Ray's term, and thereafter make a decision if he wants to go on. Steve has been on the board before, and definitely welcome his input again. He was a very effective member when he served. So, if I may, Steve Nordberg, this is Ray Gauthier, he's the chair of the board.
Great.
And Marion Howard,
Sure, you
he's
guys
the
know.
vice chair of the board. Because there's a new member, again, do you want to...
Well, we haven't started anything yet, so I have no problem. If Marion has no problem if we do the reorg now. All I said was if we were in the middle of something, it would be kind of bad to reorg the whole thing and then changing all the notes and everything like that. So this way we can start fresh. So
Okay, so for the...
at this point, I have to turn the meeting over to you.
I was going to say, for the one and only time of each term, I get to play God.
So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Andy,
So,
and we'll go from there.
very briefly, because we are reorging, there is at this moment no chair, no vice chair. So I will entertain motions for nominations to the chair as Board of Health.
I make that motion.
Well, who do you want?
Nominate Ray Gauthier to chair the Board of Health.
Okay, do we get a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, there is a motion on the table and a second. Is there any other motions for the chair of the Board of Health? Hearing none, I would call for a vote on that. An aye vote would make Ray Gauthier the chair of the Board of Health for, I believe,
Till the next reorg.
till the next appointment.
The next
which is
appointment,
yours,
which
will
is-
be in July.
July, which will be the next reorg.
So a yes vote would make Ray the chair of the board until July when Marion's appointment is up. So if I can get a vote,
Is it a roll call?
I was just going to call it. Marion, how do you vote?
Yes.
Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
It's a unanimous vote. I will then turn the board back over to Mr. Ray Gauthier as the new chair of the board.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hopefully I can do what you guys want me to do.
Live up to the
I
hype.
can live it up, live up to it.
We're gonna do vice chairman too.
Yes. Now I have to call that one. So at this point, I will take a nomination for vice chair of the board. Does anybody have any nominations?
I'll nominate Marion to continue as vice chair.
Sure.
I will second the nomination. And at this point, is there any other nominations? Okay, I will call for a roll call vote. Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. Marion, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, so a unanimous vote for Marion to retain vice chair of the board. At this time, I'd like to step back into our agenda. Anything else, Andy, that we're missing?
No, feel good.
All right.
Good.
Okay, so Steve, hey, did you have a chance to go over the agenda and everything? Is there anything we've already discussed to move the food code and the fee schedule to the end of the meeting? And we've already taken care of 1C under new business. That was you. And the next, is there anything that you'd like to see moved, added, or anything on the agenda?
Nothing that I could see.
Okay. At this point, we'll move on to 3, approval of bill schedule. We have a good chunk of change going out this month. We have MHOA, and that is a training. iPad training. Is that the?
That's an iPad training. Both Darlene and I are going to attend that.
That's good. And then we have public health nurse Cheryl Lewinsky. All right. NEI WPCC.
New England Interstate Water Pollution Control Commission.
So is it a membership?
Department
Is
of
it?
Environmental Protection subcontracts the licensing
Okay.
to these. That is my soils and my Title V.
Okay.
And I
Right.
assume that Darlene will be getting hers in the mail
Okay.
in the very near future.
And then we have Auburn VNA for the months of January and February.
There's one coming for December because
They
it
didn't get
fell
built.
through the cracks because the person who does the billing no longer works for them.
Okay. Oh, that's right. They had a whole reorg with the.
I had a reorg with Webster.
Okay. So we have multiple fees. Would you like to take a look?
Yeah.
And then once everybody gets a look at them, I'll take a motion to either accept or deny.
We'll review these once before too.
It's fine.
Does the board have any questions? Okay, at this point, I need a motion to either accept or deny the bill schedule.
I make that motion to accept that.
1 second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we need a vote. Marion, how do you vote?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I vote aye, so we vote to accept the bill schedule. Next one is for Marion and myself. We have, am I correct, there's just one set of meeting?
There is only one set of
Okay,
minutes. We
that's
didn't
fine.
get the other sets.
This is for 2/25/2013. Marion, did you have any questions or concerns about the meeting?
No, I reviewed that
Okay.
and left it.
Yeah, I had no issues with it either. So at this point, I will take a motion to either accept or deny the minutes.
I make that motion that we accept the minutes.
I second the motion, and how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, 2-0 to accept the minutes of 2/25/2013. All right. So we have 3 minutes before we have a hearing at 4:45 p.m. So, Andy, if we can jump into old business, start with goals and objectives. If there's anything besides the A and B that you want to talk about, if not, we can go into emergency planning.
We're moving that to the end.
Yeah, but I didn't know if there was anything else under goals and
No.
objectives.
No, we're good with that. We'll
Because
move it to the end.
sometimes he has goals and objectives, and then he goes to A and B. So, all right, we'll go to emergency planning then and talk about what we can until people show up for the hearing.
I last meeting I gave a copy of the proposed emergency preparedness booklet that's being prepared by the coalition, and this board had indicated that they would be interested in getting some copies of one for the town of Auburn. Passed it out at the last meeting, hoping that you guys, that the members would have opportunity to review the book and offer any comments that they might have, changes,
I have it
thoughts.
with you.
Can I have the board and the mouse, please? The keyboard and the mouse. I'm gonna open it up.
He's going high tech on me.
Oh,
Can I put it on there?
yeah, it's
There you go.
It's Auburn EP handbook. Okay.
It's over here too. You all right?
Yeah. You got to make it through a few meetings with us. You can't die on the first one.
Can't kill over here.
All right, so that's where we are right now on the first page. I read through it. I liked it. Not quite sure if there was anything we were missing. I mean, this is a lot to drag through here.
Yeah,
but,
it's still going to go through emergency management. It's going to go through the fire department and everything to make sure that if they have anything they want in it, it'll be in it.
I will tell you, I did like this because if you need to find anything, you go to the, it's table contents. But I mean, it just, some books, I've seen other ones, other towns, and you got to flip through to find
Just see it
everything.
quickly again.
I was very happy with a lot of it. Oh, look at it. See, Paula's got one.
Would you like mine?
She just flipped through it. I read through it. I'm good. I had no issues. There was nothing that really stepped out, and because we had gotten one from another town, I read through that and we made our changes on that one and what we wanted to add Auburn. Now, what you can do
Tell
is,
me.
if we do get the drug take-back program and the shops,
Yep.
those should be in the book somewhere too. I think that'd be a good idea for like services.
So we're looking at possibly launching this book further in the year
Well,
rather than sooner.
I'd like to launch it sooner.
Hold on.
This is the Board of Health. Yes.
Come on in. Love to have
Please
you.
join
So,
us.
Um,
4:45.
I'd like to
So mention some of our programs.
mention some of the programs. I think right now I'd like to launch this as soon as possible, but like you said, that the drug take back could be a while before that goes in. But we already do have the shops program, so something like that, because not everybody knows about it, not everybody watches the meetings. But if we can get more people to get these books, then they're gonna find out that we do have that. So I don't know if there's a place where we can put programs.
I'll
Yo.
take a look through it again. What I might suggest is maybe a last page or two, like a appendix,
Yeah,
where
because
we might put our programs and any other beneficial programs in the
you
town.
add in the company out of Sutton that takes hazardous waste.
Yeah.
So that we can get that involved in town and everything like that. But just a little section kind of throwing out. I think that would be a good idea if the other members don't have issue with that. I think it'd be.
Andy, is that going to be the actual size?
No, it's actually approximately this size.
Yeah, that's it.
And it gets paid for by the coalition, so the town doesn't pay for anything. But if we're going to put programs in as appendices, I will reach out to the other town departments for whatever programs they have in,
Yeah.
and add it to a single appendix of other beneficial programs.
No, I think that's a good idea, and it just puts everything in one location for all people in town to find.
It seems like the town website has most of that there.
Yeah.
So, there's the online resource page here, and although it goes a little beyond the scope of emergency preparedness and planning, I think it's certainly worthy of getting that information, the highlights
Yep.
of the different departments, maybe as
Like you
kind
said,
of like that,
just kind of a shot.
There are some folks that are not on the internet,
Exactly.
so to have a very brief.
Yeah, and that's what we were looking for with the book, is trying to make it easier. We will put the website on there so people can go to, and the radio.
Right.
You do have the radio station in there, right?
We put the radio station.
Okay. I read through the first set and the second set, and I can't remember. So yeah, as long as the radio station's in there, that's another thing people can look for.
Okay. And as I said, we're going to change this cover. I don't like the cover. We're going to put badges of the departments
Yeah.
around
The
something.
seal of Auburn or something.
Something specifically Auburn. The seal, the rocket, the entering Auburn sign.
Yeah.
But that'll be the middle, and around it will be a police shield, a fire shield, emergency management, the Board of Health, little Y guy,
Yeah.
and the DPW seal
That sounds good.
in a circle around the center. I thought that would be more poignant to show on that town hall it's not exactly emergency
Right.
preparedness.
Any other questions or concerns or about the handbook?
And we don't have to answer this now because we're still editing the book, but how we're going to distribute it? What's our means of getting it to the people?
Yeah, we had thrown out some ideas before. Before we say anything, Steve, what are you thinking to see if he's on the same page as we were, or if he has some better ideas? The handbook, we don't really want to mail them out because of the cost. So we're trying to find out where would be a good place for these things to be for people to get a hold of them.
People to know about them at least so they can get them.
Exactly. Well, we can put that on the radio, on the website, on the TV station, and we can actually take a picture of it, put it on the TV station so people know what they're looking for. Where would you, if you were going to get one of these, where would be a place that you'd be able to pick one up?
Well, save not mailing because
Yep.
of the cost, then I think just a couple central pickup locations.
Okay.
Town hall, library, maybe a few, some of the schools. And then just publicating where they're available.
Okay. And I think he's got the same ideas that Marion and myself had before, so it kind of puts us all on the same page. We all thought the same things. I think we had mentioned possibly Park and Shop or something like that, but, you know, we said definitely was Town Hall was one location, library was another. I don't know if we said schools. I know I didn't say schools. Had you mentioned
No, I
schools?
don't
No,
remember
so
saying
Senior center?
Senior Center was
Senior
another
Center.
place that we had discussed too, so.
And I don't know if there would be any budget to have a limited amount mailed to people who may not
Be able to get out or,
be
yeah.
able to get to any of those
I was
locations.
thinking also that, you know, some people might say, well, I don't really need that.
Mhm.
But, and they would lose something because of an
See,
educational piece of the
One
town.
of the other things I had mentioned was realtors. When someone sells a house or buys a house in town, making sure a book gets into the new owner's hands. We had talked about that. There is, I don't know if Auburn has one, but there's a welcome wagon. There's some companies out there that call Welcome Wagon, and they do they go around to towns and say who would donate some stuff for the new people moving into town. So
If we're leaning that way, I can call the chamber. They
Yeah.
would probably be a good connection,
Yeah.
and they've given us a lot of support in the past.
because that way, people who are moving into town aren't going to know to check the TV station, check that stuff, because they're not going to know about that. But if they come in and they're given a book and the realtor says, here, this is emergency preparedness for town of Auburn, gives you all your phone numbers, they're going to keep that close in the kitchen where most people put it in a drawer in the kitchen, so if they need something, it's there.
Is the Auburn Women's Club a good outlet?
It depends on what they're doing. If they're running something that they can hand them
And
out,
how active they are.
yeah, it depends on what they're doing. If it's just, you know, they're only doing something in the summertime, we want something that's going to be able to be consistent and get.
I don't know if they had a welcome wagon type of
I don't know. We can check. See if there's find a realtor in town that you know and find out what they do for people moving into town. Because
Okay.
we had talked about realty. I think we had talked about a couple of tax places in town. I think we had mentioned because people go and get their taxes prepared.
You know, but a lot of people, you know, might not even bother with that. And then when they have access to it, easy access to it, and they review it, they would realize the information in there is so pertinent to them.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm afraid we're going to lose that group.
Yeah, just
That hasn't got the time, the
On the
kids.
flip side of that, I don't want to. Another argument against mass mailing is a lot of people are going to grab this thing and throw it in the trash. You know, they're
the
just
people
gonna,
who want it are going to
Yeah.
get it.
right.
Will this be available electronically through the town website?
I'll post it on the Board of Health webpage.
I mean, not only the fact that the hard copy is available at these
No, I will
locations,
post.
but a downloadable version of it.
Yeah, I can do that.
We can also do some educational pieces when we have the outdoor concerts at the Pappas Field
Yeah.
Mhm.
in the
Right,
summertime.
right.
That's right. We have the 4th of July. Then we have the one. Now it's at the high school. It used to be up at the field when they do in September. They do the Harvest Festival or
Harvest.
whatever. So that would be something. I mean, we've talked about in the past of possibly getting someone to run a table or find someone who has it. Even if Kristen Pappas is there all the time. She has a little table. We get some of these books out there for people to grab too.
That's right.
So
Chairman could do a program on a cable channel explaining the booklet.
oh, Darlene can do that. Oh, that's a
No,
good idea.
The chairman of the board
Of selectmen. That's a great idea.
of the Board of Health.
You know, I'm trying to just pass that off.
Yes, I know.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the book?
I'm good.
All right. At this point, we're going to stop where we are, and we are going to move to hearing. It is now 4:49. I'd like to open the hearing for 470 Rochdale Street, and it is a trash abatement. So at this point, I would like to say welcome. I think you're here for that meeting.
Yes.
And if you could just introduce yourself to the board, and then we'll have you give information.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Baker, and my husband and I are owners of the property, 170 Rochdale Street.
Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Okay.
Two N's. And it was inherited since the death in the family. And so as a means of supporting the property, we rented it. But we rented it to tenants that were negligent in paying rent. So we had to go through a whole process of eviction. And I copied some papers and I gave them to Paula. So they actually are evicted. They moved out in November, but we, and of course we had tried to maintain the property the best we could, but apparently we never received the trash bill or any other bills.
Okay.
They were able to get access to the mail because I guess we just didn't change the address.
So everything was going to the property and not to
Instead
your...
of our home address.
Okay.
And they were taking it out.
Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't find out about the bill until I called for the tax bill, to pay the tax bill, and they said, you know you have a trash bill that's overdue? And I didn't. So I came down here right away that day, and I went to the assessor's office and I paid the trash bill in full. But there hasn't been anybody living there since November. So the trash bill was paid, I believe, up until December as well for trash pickup, and then it's paid until July. So,
Okay.
so we were asking, because there's no trash, if we could get the refund of the waste bill.
Okay. Andy?
Ms. Baker, did you ever live at the address?
Never.
So in all the time you've owned it, you've never gotten a bill? You personally have never seen a bill?
Never.
And you said trash is paid up. Is trash paid up through this coming July?
Correct.
So every bill is satisfied, you're just looking for this bill back? How far, what are you looking for back?
Just from January, because
So
they left the
just-
property in November, but we don't need,
Okay, so they were using trash right up until November, so you're just looking for it?
I don't think
The
they were,
assumption
yeah.
is they were using trash up
Right,
until
until
November.
November 1st, right?
Okay, so you're looking for a $96 refund
Yes,
for the current
bill.
subscription. I spoke to Mary about this one. The assessor's office did have a single record of a change of address. It was tied, I think, to the tax bill.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, it did not get broadcast across all the bills. So the assessor's office, and I'm not dumping this on the assessor's office, it was just the, there was an awareness made that she had changed the address, but the bill was never changed for this particular one. Having said that, I will remind the board that the code says that once you begin trash service, you have bought the 6-month period. It's not a monthly bill. It is a 6-month bill. And if any part of the service is used, then the whole service has to be paid for. That's what the code says. In this case, I can't make a recommendation to the board to either realize that the place was empty or not, whether the trash was used or not. The bills go out in December. They're due by the 1st of February, and the abatement request was received in the office on February 28th. So,
Okay. Is there any more evidence to be given before I close the evidentiary part of the hearing?
I do not.
Do you have the eviction notice and everything, and all?
I
believe,
have-
yeah,
They
we have
evicted
a,
that process, and they were,
I have the court papers.
it was before January that they were supposedly
I
to be
gave
out.
them everything.
So I know for a fact there was no trash pickup.
Okay. All right, at this point, I just need a motion to close the evidentiary part of the hearing, if everybody else set with the evidence.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to close the evidentiary part of the hearing. It needs to be a vote. A yes vote is to close the evidentiary part of the hearing. Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Marion?
Yes.
I vote yes. So at this point, it's open up for member discussion. Steve, you have any questions for Jennifer on anything of the trash bill?
Not specifically to Jennifer, but to Andrew.
Okay.
Please.
The code you're referring to is town?
Town code of, we have 2 contracts for our trash.
Mm-hmm.
One is a contract with the trash hauler. The other one is an agreement between, it's a town policies for trash pickup if you want to be on the trash. And very specifically, it says, let's not go specifically, I can't say it word for word, but it essentially says that you're buying 6-month chunk. You're not. So if you start the service, you cannot halfway through get half your money back or anything.
And there's no place on the ordinance in regards to appeal or abatement for that?
There is not, because I don't believe it's a regulation, and I could get a copy of it right now if you want, but I think it's a policy that was put on board that the selectmen adopted through Solid Waste Committee's recommendations. So, historically, we have granted some abatements based on conditions or situations.
And this 96 is for the 6-month period.
96 is for the 6-month period.
And that's just from the January to July, because the December was already paid up, and they had used 5 months out of the 6 months on that one, so they're not looking for anything back on that, correct?
No, my understanding is Ms. Baker settled, it was several years, I believe, correct? There were several years' worth of bills, and they were all settled up. She's just asking, because this one very clearly was not used, she's
Yeah.
asking for it.
Oh, yeah, it shows we do have the eviction notice in dated November, so they had, so yeah.
So previous boards have
board,
acknowledged
yeah.
abatements.
Yes.
Yeah, we just got, how long have we had trash?
Since July
We-
1st.
So, yeah, so since July 1st, we've had, I'd say, 20 to 22 or 24 abatement requests,
Yes.
and I think we've,
A multitude of them before the bills were due.
before
so
the bills were
those
due, so those weren't even really,
acceptable, but I would say this board has gone 60-40, 50-50,
yeah.
some approved, some not. So precedence has been set.
So, Marion, any questions? No. Okay. So property is empty right now, correct? Do you have water going to the building at all, just to keep the pipes
Oh,
going
yes,
so they
the
don't?
heat and
the
that
heat,
oil and
okay.
everything.
And there is no trash coming out of the building because you haven't rented it. Are you looking to rent it in the future?
We're looking to
Sell.
sell it.
Okay.
After this experience, we've realized
Yeah.
we're just not made out for it with the
Yeah.
financially and emotionally and everything else.
Mhm.
Just not cut out. We got to concentrate on our 3 kids, and that's about it.
No landlord stuff for you, huh?
No, it's just not in the future.
All right. So at this point, so for the foreseeable past from January and February, the toters haven't been out at the end of the driveway. They haven't been picked up. Okay. Any other members, questions, concerns, thoughts?
How much was?
It'd be $96.
That's what
It'd be
she wanted
January,
back.
January to February. I mean, January to July of this, till July 1st.
To July 1st of this year,
Mm-hmm.
and they were not there.
They have not been being used. Shows the eviction, 11/28, 2012, 12/20, 2012 was a court date, so there's been nobody in the house. And the billing was not going to the landlord address, it was going to the tenant address. Thoughts, ideas? Nothing, Marion?
No.
Nothing, Steve? What are you thinking? How do you?
I know.
What's your thought process?
Not having a good understanding of the previous board's decisions,
Okay.
knowing what the code is,
Mhm.
I would prefer to defer to one of the,
City
sounds like
members?
40, 60, 50, 50 of
Yeah.
prior requests. And again, not without
Yeah.
really having a good understanding as to the history of those prior requests. I
Alright.
certainly have my inclination which way I would want to go with
Okay.
this request.
All right. Well, I'm gonna throw my opinion out there. the owners of the property did what they felt was their due diligence and sent a change of address to one property. Now, the passing of a family member, they may not have realized that a bill was going out separately for the trash. So I'm looking at the fact that I feel them calling the town and putting in the change of address so they could get the bills, the address didn't get there, they never received the bill. When they did receive the bill, I found out that they were in arrears for the bill, they came in and paid. My inclination is to say, look, we're not looking to make enemies from the town of Auburn. We're not looking to cause financial distress. And I know in the past we've gone both ways with it. My inclination is to look at it and say everything was done when they found out about it. When they found out you were overdue, you came in and paid the bill. When you found out all this other stuff, you did what I feel is your due diligence. You did what you thought was right. You did what you knew. You may not have realized that a trash bill came out every 6 months. And if you didn't know that, you're not a person who lives in town, so I don't feel I can hold you responsible for that end of it. That's my opinion. Now the board will have to give their opinions and we'll figure out how to vote. Marion, any comments?
And you did not realize that, the bill,
No, we live in Rutland and we pay for a separate, every month we get a bill for our own trash.
in
But
another
we-
town, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we live in Rutland. So we didn't, I mean, I think we just, whenever we get a bill, we pay it. And we just, I think, didn't even realize it. And when I called, I was so happy that they said, you know, do you know, by the way, I called the tax collector to pay the bill and to just to make sure I was paying it right online. And she said, your bill, that's overdue in the trash. So then, of course, I came in that next day.
Sounds like me.
It was, you know,
I'm going to.
So Steve, now do you want to make a comment or are you still?
I know which way I want to go with this.
Okay.
I just wanted to
That's fine.
hear which way the,
All right, if there's no more discussion, I will take a motion.
If it's not so traumatic to go against the code, I would like to make the motion to give the money back,
Okay.
if I can do that.
You're a board member, you can make that motion.
I'll second that.
And we have a motion on the table and a second to accept the full trash abatement from January 2013 to July 1st, 2013. Is that correct? Is that that's your motion?
It's my motion?
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, if there's no other comment, is there any comment on the motion? Nice and easy. So at this point, since it does have to do with a trash abatement, I would like to do a roll call vote. A yes vote is to refund or abate the money of the $96 from the time period from January 1st, 2013 to July 1st, 2013. Marion, how do you vote?
Oh, yes.
Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Ray votes yes. So we have 3-0 vote to uphold the abatement and refund the $96. You're welcome.
what do I do?
So, Andy or Paula, can you let her know where she needs to go and how we're going to handle that?
We will send the abatement downstairs, and pretty much it means that you're out of this. The board, the assessors will inform you of the nullified bill. You're all set.
So they will send a check back because she paid it all up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mary will send a check back. If not, I'll get in touch with you and let you know what's going on.
Okay, and what was your name again?
My name's Andy Pelletier. I'm the director of
Okay, Mr. Pelletier, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Have a great night. Thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
All right,
Bye-bye.
at this point,
Ray, you want to sign this, or does the board want to give me authority to sign?
you can sign. Go ahead. I'm fine with that. If it's either me or you, it might as well be you. At this point, I need a motion to close the hearing.
Keep my name off everything.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Yes vote is to close the hearing. Aye.
Aye.
All right, 3-0, close the hearing. It is 5:09. All right, back to business.
Back in the USSR.
So we are at tabletop exercise results, emergency planning.
Shouldn't have been results.
So discussion?
The coalition has put aside a bunch of money to hold a tabletop exercise. It is going to be an influenza type outbreak exercise. Basically to exercise or to see how the region would deal with an influenza outbreak.
Okay.
They are looking for, it's going to happen on March 20, I wrote it down on the other piece of paper.
28th.
March 28th. And they are looking for board members, staff members, emergency preparedness people to register and be part of the thing. You obviously don't have to tell me now if you're interested in being a participant, but if you can get back to me in short order, I will register your name.
It's a Thursday,
Yes.
and do we know what time frame?
9.
Marion knows all.
Marion's got it, 9 a.m. And do we have a location, Marion?
Let me see. Do we have taken an initiative? I haven't. Do you, Andy?
But I will get with you.
All right.
I am going to sign up as a participant.
Okay.
If any of the board members also want to sign up,
I can
I will arrange that.
check my calendar and see if I am not working that day.
This is the first Central Mass Public Health tabletop for the region. I think it's, even if we don't participate, it'll be a great observation opportunity.
And when is it?
March 28th,
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
according to Marion.
She reads. Marion reads what I give you.
We don't know where.
No, there's no location yet. So
So I will be registering myself tomorrow. Anytime thereafter, if anybody else is interested in doing it, let me
Other
know.
obligations, so I won't be able to go.
Okay.
Well.
We'll obviously be reporting back on it.
all right, sounds good. Okay, anything else on the tabletop exercise before we move on?
Do not.
All right, next we're into programs, grants and update.
Okay, the MEMA grant. That is a CCP grant. We used it to outfit the trailer. As you know, the trailer's been upgraded, electricity, shelving, and everything else. I am just putting the finishing touches on the grant closure.
The pictures aren't on this one, are they?
Not the grant one, no.
Okay. Are they in the?
Actually, they might be. Go back to the last meeting. Hit the back arrow.
All right.
You're gonna love this,
Go to
Steve.
1:14:13.
You see.
I've seen it.
Is it in there?
No, I don't see
The
it.
one before, a month ago.
What's that? Equipment what?
I can't read from there.
Click on that.
Resource.
Looks like a
Resource
picture.
guide.
No, that's a resource guide.
All right.
No,
well,
I don't have pictures of the trailer.
Okay.
But I am
Easy.
in the process of closing out the MEMA grant. We came up, we had $4,450. We used 4,330 something or 70 something. I am delving into can we use the remaining money, or do we have to return it because it's not specific to what we requested? There's a possibility that we have some old radios that the batteries are just about burned out on them. So it's possible that I can use the remaining money to purchase batteries because part of the original grant request was for batteries.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll burn out down to approximately 37 cents, I think.
Works for me.
And I should have that. If we can do that, it's going to take me a couple of weeks to get the additional batteries to close out the
grant money.
report. But at that point, I'll close out the report and forward it out, and we'll be done with that one.
Sounds good. That was the MEMA.
That's the MEMA grant. As you know, I applied for or may not know, I applied for the mini grant, $500 to buy sharps containers that we can dispense from our office. Tied in with that, I put in an article. Did I send you a copy of the articles? I put in an article for town meeting requesting establishment of a revolving account.
Yes. Yeah, that wasn't here.
So if we can use a mini grant to buy the containers, I have a estimate for containers are going to cost us about $250. I believe if we can sell them for close to $250, I mean there's a handling fee and everything. I don't want to make it so burdensome that people don't want to buy them.
Yeah.
But if we can sell them for $275 or $3, we can keep refilling the revolving account if the town approves it.
Yep.
And once we get the revolving account to sit right around $1,000, we can cut back on the, and actually eat some of the operating costs and just do it for the cost of purchasing. But I'd like to get the account sitting right about $1,000 so that we can always be buying ahead when we get low.
And then it won't be money coming out of anybody's pocket. We'll be sustaining our own.
Right, and it'll be significantly cheaper than they could get the boxes anywhere else. The purpose of this is, and it's actually a DPH interpretation. I'm not sure I agree with the interpretation. The Sharp's law says that sharps shall be collected in rigid, durable, properly marked containers. And I make argument that our kiosk at CVS has a box in the bottom of it that all these things fall into, and that box is properly labeled. And it's not our waste until it lands in that box. So I make argument that our container is properly labeled. DPH makes interpretation because if you read on, it says shops shall be deposited in rigid, durable, but it doesn't say anything about markings.
Yeah.
But DPH, I've talked to Steve Hughes at DPH, and he says, I wrote that law, and the interpretation is that they should be deposited in properly
containers.
marked.
Yeah.
So I am not by any stretch going to turn somebody away who shows up with the bleach bottle. I want the sharps off the street.
Will that fit in the container?
Barely.
Yeah.
I want the sharps off the street. But to encourage better compliance with what DPH interprets the law as,
We're going to try and
I
follow.
want to make it available. So the intent of this mini grant is to increase compliance with the interpretation of the law.
Okay. Now, is that still, I mean, C was SHOPS program. Is that what you want to talk about on the SHOPS program?
Pretty much.
Okay.
So we'll combine those two. The mini grant has been received. I got confirmation of receipt at the state. It's not due until the end of this month. So we're probably looking at middle of September middle of April before we know if it's one of the ones they choose.
I'm trying to find, because the next thing was tobacco.
Tobacco.
Let's take a step back.
Um,
Trying to find.
You asked me to find out what it would cost for a extra round of tobacco youth access.
Yes.
And I originally got back to you. She had told me what it cost us last year.
It was like
And it was-
110 or.
It was like $90 for the initial, and considering all the follow-ups, we would probably be looking at less than $150. I then got an email from Karen, who runs our tobacco control program, our tobacco collaborative, and she got me an estimate of $200.
Whoa.
I
Is that-
sent back
Per.
an email that said what changed, and she sent me a cryptic, cryptic response, basically stating whatever it was last year, it'll be, and then she went on to describe
The cost?
all the costs, and so I'm looking for clarification on her on, is it the 150, is it the 200, where are we going to land
Where
on
are we
this
going to
thing?
land on it?
I suspect it's going to be in the 150 range for a inspection and a follow-up.
Okay.
With that in mind, she did say that she can do it end of April, early May. So if the board is still approving that schedule, I can call her.
Did you ever speak to town attorney about fees? What if those can be used?
I talked to Kay about those, and
Yeah.
he does not believe that fees can be used to fund a revolving account.
Okay.
All right?
Because it does look like you're trying to nail people, even though we're not the ones doing it. It's just because it does look like, oh, we want to keep this program running, so we're going to nail you with a fee. But I don't think,
No, we were talking about fines.
fines. That's what I'm saying. The fine.
Fines.
That's what I'm talking about. Is if someone gets fined $100, why can't we use that to pay for another round of inspections? And you said that doesn't. They don't
Because
think you can.
fees can be used for a revolving account, fines cannot.
Fines cannot.
Having said that, I did put in enough, I believe I put in enough to cover, based on the 150, I put in enough to cover extra youth access in 2014's budget.
Yeah.
So we do have the money to fund it, and I
I just
fully
want- I
believe
want it
that
to
the
be-
money will be returned to the town
Yes.
through fines. It just won't be returned directly to the account
To
that we're
account.
feeding.
Okay. I just want to. Well, we had said before, my feeling was if one person is the one selling all these products, then they should be funding to check everybody, because if they're the ones not doing their job, that's the way I feel. Why should it come out of taxpayers? You know what I mean? But I mean, it is coming out of a different account, so it's not a straight.
Right. It's hopefully it won't be getting paid back into the town, because hopefully they're not selling.
Exactly.
But as we discussed, the code, our local regulations are set up for 4 youth access attempts a year, and we want to try to at least maintain that potential.
Okay. All right. Next item is prescription takeback.
I feel good.
All right. Let me. I'm trying to find it here. It should be removable disc.
Right there, EPA right there.
All right, and we're gonna go under.
Board of Health meetings? March 11th.
There you go, and right here.
Cool.
Boom.
All right.
This is the. Oh, look at that. Who took a great picture of that? I don't know.
Bad angle. One of the goals for this year is to investigate into the feasibility of a prescription take-back program. Ray was up in
This one's
Holden.
in Holden, yeah.
So he had knowledge that they have a sustainable program in Holden.
And they have the same one in Millbury too. The same box.
Yep. There is actually multiple towns. There's probably
did you
50
see?
towns in Massachusetts
Oh yeah.
that have a sustainable program. I called the Holden Police today. They run their program for $0. They bought the box. The box is $1,000, although I found a different box that's $695.
Which is this one.
That box right there.
Is that just because it's smaller? and
It's
the price?
smaller dimensions, less shipping dollars because it's lighter, but it's got the same capacity. It doesn't have that huge top weight. That's a big
Yeah, no,
difference.
this is a flat top box instead of
Yeah.
the big like mailbox style.
Yeah. So they have it in their police station in Holden. What they do is they tie into, there is a program twice a year for a drug prescription take-back day. And what they do is they just unload their box and keep it in the evidence room until that day, and they sign up for that day. So they just hand it all over to the DEA, and the DEA takes it for free.
So it's a one-time cost if you do it right.
It's a one-time cost. If we go with the $695 box, we'll have, because we want to use the Chamber of Commerce grant, we got a grant for $1,000 to do something health beneficial, public health beneficial. If we use that grant to initiate this program, buy the box, and I haven't talked to the police yet, and I'm not going to speak for them to say whether it's a good idea or not to have it here in our town.
But
I wanna
what
get
did
their
Holden
feedback.
have to say when you talked to Holden Police?
He said he's very happy with it, that it's basically it's in the lobby under camera, so they've had no problems with
At the
it.
police station, is
At the
that
police
correct?
station, yes. And the options are police station, could have it in our office, although I'm not keen on that.
All right.
If somebody chooses to bring in a Class D drug, a pot, cocaine, something like that, I don't want to say no, but I also don't want to be holding it here at the Board of Health. I want it under lock and key at the police department. So Holden loves the thing. They use the DEA's program every 6 months to get rid of it for free. The volume they go through, they say 4 plus or minus paper boxes. You know the boxes that Rima paper comes in?
Yeah.
4, give or take, every 6 months.
That's not bad.
So I actually thought that was a lot. I thought that was a lot of, well, you think of prescription drugs. They're in a little bottle.
Yeah. But it's also, from what it says on here, anything over-the-counter medications,
Yep.
vitamins, samples, medications for pets. So some of those bottles, they can be, some of the vitamin bottles. So those can be.
Now I'm sure that there's things that they aren't accepting.
Yeah, there's a list here. Of
And I'm
some
sure
things.
there's a reason for that. Like a hydrogen peroxide is a big bottle of liquid.
Yeah.
Much like the airlines, they don't want you to have the opportunity to put something in there that's not a prescription
Yeah.
take-back, and I'm not trying to give out ideas here.
Yeah.
So that might be why the limitations on some of the things is the
And
potential of what they could be.
You have to get some clarification because over here it says yes, accepted. One of the things says prescription patches, prescription ointments, and over here it says ointments, lotions, or liquids are not accepted.
That sticker right there is, we can request med return to personalize that.
Okay.
So if we don't want something in there, if we do want something in there, we can.
Well, they have both on that one, so I don't know if it's, you know, prescription ointment versus regular ointments off the over the
And
counter.
I'm,
So
I'm sure a good discussion with the police is going to lead to what they really don't want dumped in there.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know, anything that could potentially not be a drug but be an explosive,
Yeah.
obviously they don't want it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, my next step is probably to talk to Officer Picaro with the police department and either Andy Slukas, the chief, or Mark Maas, and see if there are any real qualms about housing this thing. Again, I would be hesitant to house it here, only because if somebody brings in something that is a hot item, we don't have the security that the police have.
Yep.
So my first choice obviously would be the police station. If it can't be done at the police station, we can look at it here, but we're going to have to seriously limit what can be dropped off.
Okay.
Obviously, we can't accept Class Ds. And I don't think the intent of the program is to accept Class Ds, but I talked to the Holden police chief, and he said, you know something, if they put it in there,
It gets it off the street.
it gets it off the street, we can claim it against our, you know, how much we take off the streets. And we don't really, if mom finds it in the kid's drawer, we want to give her a place to put it, you know.
Makes sense.
I have a question. If someone brings it up here to our office, could we call the police department to come and get it at that time?
Like you mean a class D substance?
If it was
No,
in,
no,
Or any or
like the bad
No.
stuff.
that's class D.
Okay.
Yeah.
no, I assume if we do it, it's going to be with a no repercussion, meaning
Right.
much like the gun take back program.
Right.
If you want to bring a gun in, we're not going to ask you where you got it. We're not going to,
Right.
you know, and while you're walking in the building with this gun, we're not going to arrest you for not having a permit. You're coming in to get rid of this gun.
Yeah.
I think it'll be under the same attitude.
Well, yes, we'd take the stuff,
We
but
will
we'd
not.
call the,
We will not hold illegal drugs here. It would
Period.
just put the
Okay.
town in a questionable position.
all right.
Yeah, we don't want to open that gate. So I was originally looking for an intern to launch this program. I know this was a goal for the Board of Health,
Yeah.
but I think it's a lot less burdensome than I imagined it was going to be. It's
Well, when we found the website and everything's just it's letter for letter. It tells exactly what to do on the website, which I thought was unbelievable. So I was like,
and in talking with him, the only permitting that he says we need, that the chief of police in Holden said we need, is the we need to get in touch with the Mass DPH. They have a permitting to accept them, and he said it's a single page permitting form. So I think this program, partnered with our shops program that we already have at CVS, huge steps for the Board of Health.
Yeah.
Huge steps for Auburn Board of Health, saying that we've launched these two programs. Constant calls on what can I do with my sharps.
yeah,
What the three biggest questions we get on disposal are sharps, prescription drugs, and household hazardous waste. If we can find an ongoing program, and we're working on all three of them right now, if we can find an ongoing program for all three, I think it will be a huge feather for the Board of Health in Auburn.
well, you know, just for my own, I want to thank everybody for stepping up on this one. I think it was last January where Mr. Amendo brought it to us that he was hoping to put something together. He left in February, so we're unable to get that moving. But I feel bad because 3 meetings ago I should have had the pictures for you and we should have had the information going. But I finally got out to Holden, got the pictures taken while I was working out there, and I think if we can get this moving, especially with the grant, and we're not going to be using all the grant money, so maybe we'll be able to use that. We can maybe get 2 programs started with the grant money.
We're going to use almost $700 just to buy this box.
Yep.
And I envision we're going to want to advertise that.
Oh, that's right, the advertising. You did,
So
yeah.
every possible way I can think of to advertise this,
Okay.
we're going to advertise. So
Yeah.
it's going to cost us, I don't know, I'll say a couple hundred anyhow to get advertising out there.
Well, it's good. I mean, we're not using because the big box was $9.95. If we can
Yep.
find the box for $6.95, we're gonna have that extra money for the advertising. Don't have to use that money. You know, we don't have to find that money someplace else. It'll still come under the same grant money, which would be great. And that was is that the chamber,
That is the chamber money.
which would be great with them.
Yeah.
I think they'll be excited about that too, especially if presented to them that that's what we're gonna use it for. I really think they're gonna be excited about something like that.
I'd like to launch this thing and then get back to them and let them know
I'd like to
this
do.
is what we did.
I like
you know?
I think it'd be nice to have the chamber available and do like a ribbon cutting or something like
Yep.
that with the chief of police and maybe the board and yourselves, you know.
Ribbon cutting.
But seriously, think about it. But if you think about it, people always said, Andy and I have said it in the past, people will say, well, what's the Board of Health do for me? What's the Board of Health do for us? We got to take our pats on the back when it's time to take our pats on the back because people don't know what we do. Until the H1N1, when people started thanking us of all the stuff we were doing and the things. Nobody knows what the Board of Health does. We open up something like this. It's big for the chamber because they're doing the grant money, so it's going to
Well,
make...
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, but you kind of
The
laughed
ribbon
at it.
cutting, if
Well,
that
I'm
was-
just saying, kind of an opening to
Yeah,
it.
I mean, not cross the bridge to cut the ribbon, but
No, I think just opening
get
it
the
up,
newspaper in there to take a picture.
you know,
Yes,
because
I
they'll
agree
tell you
with
what,
that.
you'll have Paul Frost here, you'll have some of the selectmen will want to be there, and I think it's just another thing for the town to say, hey, look what we're doing to help out the people in town. And I think it's a great idea. Kind of it's like a grand opening for a restaurant. People like to be there. It makes people smile. It shows people what's going on, and you know, somebody's gonna want to be that first one to drop their prescription in, and you know, make a big thing about it. I'm sure Ellie Olson would be interested in something like
Yeah,
that.
as we get closer,
Town
when we have
programs.
the box, when we're ready to start this
Yeah.
thing, I'll give Ellie a call. I'll stand before the selectmen and tell them what we're doing and tell them the date that we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And definitely invite them to, you
Yeah,
know.
I think it'd just
there
be
for a
nice
picture shot.
because everybody just says, "Oh, you guys are coming." The Board of Health's coming in to inspect my restaurant. The Board of Health's coming in telling me my yard isn't clean. Here's something we're doing that's actually for the town and
That's
proactive.
good instead of
And
bad.
that's what I mean. The H1N1 clinics. I don't think a lot of people know about the shops thing. And now if we can get that moving in the right direction, got to start showing what the Board of Health actually does in town. We're not just a inspector service. We do other stuff.
When I get this one close to up and running, I'll put together a presentation for the Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
And I'll include, it'll center on this one as the new program.
Yep.
But I'll make sure I have some pictures of the shops program.
Other programs that the
Yeah,
Board of Health
and I'll
has.
try to present a 10-minute overview of the good things the Board of Health does, rather than just, I'm here to shut you down or here to...
The radio station, all the stuff that in the past 2 or 3 years you've brought a lot of stuff in the town with the coalition and everything like that, and I think we should really harp on that stuff and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. We're not just the bad guys coming to shut down your restaurant, you know. Actually, we haven't shut down.
By the way, we haven't done one of those in a long
I
time.
was gonna say we haven't shut down a restaurant. I'm not saying that we're shutting down restaurants, but that's what people think when we go into the stores. So, all right. Anything else on the prescription take back?
I'm good on that one.
Excellent. Okay, new business. We have director's issues, correspondence. So, did anybody have any questions about the correspondence that went out? No, I didn't. Access, revolving. Nope. I had no questions. Any questions, Steve, Marion? Any questions?
I have no
Nathan?
questions.
All right. Anything you want to go over with us on the
Not
correspondence?
with the correspondences, no, everything's pretty cut and dry and actually moving forward. I will mention, it's not in this group of correspondences, but I sent out approximately 7 or 8 actions against vacant properties
Okay.
to board and secure, and in some cases clean them. And I just want to report back that we have 6 of them that are in compliance or have an agreement with the board that they will come into compliance. So that's a good initial kick.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 that I'll probably be issuing a second order on and then taking to court.
75%, 6 out of 8 is really good.
It's good, except that 25% not complying is not good.
No, I understand.
Especially when we consider the nature of these buildings.
Mhm.
Every open building is going to lure vagrants, kids, and now that the weather's warmer, we're better off. But, I mean, I remember, you know, if there was a vacant building with a nice bathtub to build a fire in, you know, and we want to get these buildings boarded up so that the kids don't end up burning them down. I get it, but
Yeah.
I want to prevent it.
Oh no, I understand. I'm just saying for the first round, for 75% to
I'm
take
happy
care
with
of
the
it,
response.
that's a good response. 2, yeah, if you have to send out a second notice and then go to court, that's still better than taking 8 to court off the bat. You're taking possibly 2. Question,
The
and
problem
I
with
do.
those two is there's argument on who owns them.
All right. The other question: are the two bad enough where the state can get involved in those, or no?
One of them is a candidate for the state.
Okay.
The other one we did not have on the list because I found it later.
Okay.
The bank does not own it yet. I actually sent an order to the bank as well as the previous owners.
And the bank said that's not us.
Bank said we don't own it yet. Previous owners haven't responded and don't live there anymore, so I don't even know if they've got notice of it.
All right.
So those two properties may be some that we put our own people in to board them up.
Okay.
I've taken steps, or I've taken a little bit of investigation to see if we can put DPW workers on these places, or at least put a contract on them. And it looks positive.
All right.
I have an article on the town meeting for an abatement revolving account.
Yeah.
Looking to
saw
seed
that.
it with $2,500. That type of money will help us get into these buildings and get them boarded and minimally cleaned.
Okay. Can I ask a question of either you or Darlene? Steve wasn't here. Can you explain the state program real quick to Steve about abandoned homes?
I'll defer to Dal on that one. She spearheaded that one.
Just so you know what's going on with these. Because when I say, oh, is that something the state can take? You may not know what I'm talking about.
Is
But
that on-
Darlene knows about it more than I do.
Tonight's agenda?
No.
That's on next selectmen's
It's on
agenda.
the 25th. So we have, the Attorney General has a program that they started in the past, in the recent past, within the past about year and a half, I believe. It's called the Abandoned Housing Initiative. And basically they assist towns to identify problems of the violations of the housing code. Obviously with the economic downturn in the past several years, there's been a number of houses that have become vacant through owners unable to, pay the mortgage and so forth. So a lot of people have just abandoned the properties because they can no longer take care of them, they can't pay for them, and they're underwater themselves. So the program that they offer through the Attorney General's office is they help with boards of health to identify these properties, to see what we can do for, for bringing them into compliance. So a lot of the violations are weatherization, broken windows, or open doors, people that can access the property, properties that aren't secure, that cause a, as Andy said, people able to go in and inhabit. Then you have, drug activity, fires, all sorts of, bad things that come with the police having to respond, the fire department having to respond, and then you're putting other people in peril. So they did a site visit. I've done this program in other towns that I've worked in, and we invited them to do a site visit with us for several of the properties in town. And they were very helpful. Some houses are candidates, some aren't. So with Andy's notes, and obviously he knows the history in town, he was able to identify what properties he knows he has had continual problems with. And as he mentioned, we've had pretty good luck with sending out the initial letters to a number of the property owners. They assist with legal advisement as well, and if we're not able to get compliance on the couple that we have remaining, then they will offer assistance to the town at no cost to help us bring them into compliance with the property owner and through a receivership program. So it's been very very helpful, very advantageous, and again, they're the legal eagles, so they know the law, they know how to enforce the law, and they're able to help identify if owner needs assistance. They can identify receivers a lot of times to maybe make the repairs to the property, and then give the owner a chance to take those repairs and do a payment back for those. So we've had a lot of luck. And I think we're moving in the right direction with the couple that we have remaining. And they're also able to, you know, we've had this approximately 10 or so properties. If we identify new properties going forward, they're able to come in at any time. So it's kind of an ongoing program.
What's the name of the program?
The Abandoned Housing Initiative. As a follow-up to that, we actually had them coming to the Board of Selectmen meeting on March 25th. In 2 weeks when we meet, we've got a board meeting that night, and then after the board meeting, I would certainly invite you. We'll be in with the representatives from the Attorney General's office, and they'll explain the program in its entirety. So it's a chance to let the community know what we're doing. And as Ray said, something good for the health department, good for the community, and it's a great program because it doesn't cost money. It costs our time.
Thank you, Darlene. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
All right. I hate this one every year. Budget, fiscal year 2004.
This every year.
Because you're always giving to us to say, hey, can you see what you can cut off of this? I don't want to see.
Budget has been negotiated, has been worked through.
Yeah.
The budget sitting before you is the budget that will be presented at town meeting.
Okay.
Biggest changes in it,
I see contracted services.
contracted services is the Auburn District Nursing.
Okay.
It's been cut. And that money has been redistributed throughout this budget and other budgets in town. We are slightly up on our nursing services. Made a determination that when we originally planned for Cheryl as our public health nurse, we planned on 4 hours a week, plus or minus. We figured it would be averaging 4 hours a week. Cheryl's actually working closer to 7 hours a week.
Okay.
This is a step one out of what I hope is a 4-step program to get her up to 12,000.
Okay.
Or we might take some duties away from her and pay her through other venues. Part of her duties is to help us plan and prepare and hold the flu clinics. We have a revolving account. So if we take flu clinics out of her contract, that will take out that many hours under the contract, but we can hire her back in under the flu clinic money.
Because she's a contractor, she's not an employee, so.
Right, we can bring her back in and pay her an equivalent of what she's losing through the flu account, because her time is dedicated from the flu account.
Okay.
So the goal is to make her pay more reflect the hours she's actually putting in than what we predicted she would be putting in. So.
Now, is that something that she's willing to do? Have you spoken to her about that, or just kind of? It's. I mean, it's not. If it's not going to affect her, it's
I
not going
think
to affect
in
her.
the end it's not going to affect her. She's still going to get 110.99 from us.
Okay.
Whether she's plucking chickens or haying the horses, you know.
Yep.
So I think as long as the money works out in the end.
So, I mean, I know when we dropped the budget of the contractor service down to the 20,000 and the 16.7, we got a lot of feedback.
We're not utilizing them as much as we used to. With the public health nurse, contracted services is directly the AD&A. We're just not utilizing them the way we used to. If they do something like the blood pressure clinics, they get paid out of the senior center anyhow. They have a
So
budget
it's not
for them.
like it's coming out of.
Yeah, it was essentially a standby. It was something that was voted in 1929, I believe. And it was just, I don't want to call it a grant, but it was standby money. It was on-call type money. And it's been cut because we haven't really been using them. We've used them when we had a hoarding case. We used them a couple of times to discuss the psychological issues related to hoarding cases and things like that.
What the work they were doing wasn't worth the amount that was being. I don't want to say not worth it,
I can't
but
say it wasn't worth it. They do some amazing preventative programs there. They do some amazing after surgery programs to allow people to get out of the hospital and go home, but still be under medical care. You know, so they do great programs for Auburn. We just weren't using them directly, and the money that we were paying them out of our budget wasn't being paid back to our services.
Our services, okay.
Is Cheryl then doing like the communicable disease follow-ups and things like that? Or is that the ADN that's doing that?
Cheryl does those.
Okay.
Yep. She does all the communicable disease follow-up. She's my nurse consultant, and she helps us with every clinic that we, if we end up with a hep breakout at a restaurant, she's going to be standing beside me,
Okay.
shooting people while I cringe and go, oh, that's gross. So,
Okay.
All right, so we're down 9.29%. Is that
we're down,
is that
but
acceptable?
also, yeah, we can function under that because we're down in that line item, but the other line items are level funded or improved on.
Okay.
So I'm optimistic about the budget. I will say that with the merging of the of all the departments, I don't know how long this budget will fall under Board of Health. Otherwise, you guys sign bill schedules every meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that will go on or if that will fall under the director, Adam Burney.
Yep.
But even if it does, I'm working really good with Adam. He doesn't. We discuss how dollars are spent in the office, and he's not going to frivolously throw away. He's going to recognize that Board of Health has minimal things that they have to get done, and we need to be funded for that. So he's not going to go out and buy, War and Peace.
Yeah. Do we have another? Do we have another budget for the animal control?
Animal control is level funded.
Okay.
Only because we're not. It's constantly in. I don't want to say in flux, but I was going to go to contract. I was going to get a full timer. As you know, our dog officer is a assistant dog officer who is filling in. I love the woman absolutely. She is filling in. Apparently on a permanent basis. It's been 4 years since Kathy Sabinek quit. Doing an amazing job. Our animal inspector is also contract.
Okay.
So I don't know if the town is going to merge these things, make a job out of it, make a contract out of it. We're not sure which direction we're going in.
All right.
Towns around us, we've talked to other towns about regionalizing it. It's been a good idea. It's been a bad idea. It's been up and down. I've looked at towns around us who have contracted and then gone back to employee. I don't know. There's a lot more discussion to be had on this one.
Okay. I just didn't know because I know usually we have the 2-page budget because we just picked up animal control too. So we got trash and animals now fall under us. So.
Well, the animal control is level funded, except I believe we put a boatload more money into the mileage.
Okay.
Because it is an on-call.
You got to drive.
Run out.
Yeah.
Everything is minimum. You're going to drive is 3 miles to do a job.
Okay. And one thing is travel. Is that your mileage?
Travel is mileage, tolls.
Is that
Parking,
is that
things
cover?
like
That's enough. That covers.
We put in. It's comparable to what we did last year,
Okay.
and
All right.
hopefully, we do have a vehicle.
I
not
know,
a Board of
so-
Health vehicle, and it's usually taken by the building inspector and or the assessor.
Is the
But-
animal control using it? They have to drive to Boston and get something done.
I am trying to make it available, but if it's out of the office, she can't. You
Okay.
know.
I thought
what
we
I
would-
want to do is I want to get her a key so that if she has to have a weekend trip, she can at least come down and grab it then. Her biggest mileage is when she goes to Tufts, when she goes to one of the
Well,
shelters.
that's what I'm saying. If she's
Yeah.
driving out there, because we had discussed before that whoever's going the furthest should be the one to take it, because that way it'd save the town money on mileage, really.
I don't know, Dal, you comfortable driving that thing on the highway? Just curious. It's a good little around town car.
But I know, but we had talked about whoever's going
Yeah.
the furthest to save the town money on mileage. We had talked about that. And, you
We
know,
have
so-
we
Kia
have
or a
talked.
Suburban?
It's a Explorer.
Okay.
We have
Smart car.
we have talked with Adam Burney, the
Okay.
director of the department, and I know he's brought it on high that perhaps vehicles, low-end vehicles. We don't need a $40,000
No.
SUV. A Kia would serve our purposes.
Yeah.
So if he can get if we can find $13,000 cars and project over the next 5 years, I think we'll save money in mileage.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the town is ready for a capital.
No, and I
Purchase
understand.
like
That truck came out of another town department, correct?
Yeah, we found that truck in an abandoned building,
Yeah. So,
and we brought it to the highway yard. They rehabbed the thing for us and got
Yeah.
it living again.
So-
So I guess recycling at its best.
recycling, and that's that's what you got to do. And I know maybe I don't want to say a squad car comes off the line, but that's what a lot of towns do. Is vehicles get moved down through the
Right.
town.
I know We had a shot at one of the fire department vehicles, and
That was a little much, wasn't it? Wasn't it too much for us? Or?
no, it was a Taurus or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
But it was just moved too slow on it, and it wasn't us moving too slow. It was
The whole.
a conglomeration of finance, management, board of health, the inspectional services. Our coordination was a little bit off, and we didn't get it fast enough, and the fire chief reallocated it to his fire inspection service.
Okay.
So it is being reused. It's
Yeah.
not like it's went out
I
the
mean,
door.
we should keep our eyes open because
Yep.
I think it would be great because I think that would save the town some money on the vehicles are already town vehicles. They're already paid for. They're already so if we can move things around and save
tell
on
you.
some mileage, that's where we can look at some.
If I can
cuts.
stop beating my car up driving around this town, and just drive to work and then switch to a town vehicle.
I understand when I'm out doing inspections, I
alright.
look at all the mileage I'm putting on my vehicle,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow. So I know it's worse for you guys. You guys are full time. I'm part time, and All right. Any other questions or concerns on budget fiscal year 14? No. All right. Next thing is director's issues concerns. Anything that concerning you, Andy?
No, everything's going pretty good right now. I've got a couple of complicated cases going on. 34 Mill Street has until the end of this month to comply.
Still working on that one, right?
I've got 2 more no waters that I know last meeting we declared a place unfit for human habitation. I've got 2 more,
Okay.
but I'm trying to work with the people there. They seem more willing to work. I've got a meeting by the end of this week. I'm supposed to go in and try to figure out what's going on and what minimal he can do to get it up and running.
Okay.
And the other one is a vacant, which I can declare myself. It doesn't require a hearing.
Yep.
I have a vacant on Auburn Street that the water was terminated, so under the sanitary code,
If it's
we don't
vacant,
need to
you
go
don't
to a
have to
hearing.
go. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I'll declare that one, and basically the declaration is just to say you can't occupy it till you get water.
Yep. Okay. And you don't have to do any kind of inspection for the internal part once once you declare it unfit with no water. Do you have to go in and do inspect?
I
before they
will
open?
on this one and the one we declared last time
Okay.
because there was a massive water leak.
That was yeah.
And there is a threat of mold. So before I release the uninhabitable status, I will want to see that the mold, or if there is mold, it was taken care of. There's a good chance that if it got wet and it got dried one time, there's a good chance there's no mold. Mold is usually chronic dampness, but I just want to make sure of that.
All right. Animal issues, discussion, updates.
We're
Anything big?
good. I sent the animal regs back to Mark. They're in his hands right now, and I think they're a final edition. Darlene Wood, Belcito, has a copy, and she says she should be getting back to me with any comments. But
Well, she is,
Mark and I beat that thing back and
Yeah.
forth, up and down. I think we, what I did is I made this board primary review board. Basically, any action that the animal inspector takes,
we should get
if
notification.
if they don't like the action, they appeal to this board.
Okay.
And then I made the Board of Selectmen the final appeals board.
Nice.
Basically, if they don't like your decision here, they can appeal to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Beyond that, they'd have to go to the courts. But I really wanted to give the people an opportunity to do a free in-town appeal before they had to spend money at the courts.
Yep.
I felt that dogs are a very sensitive issue. On my side, you got my dog, who is the sweetest thing in the world, and he's my family member. But on my neighbor's side, that guy's got a dog, and I don't like dogs, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So that it's a very sensitive issue, and the emergency planning type activities will tell you that it's a significant consideration in people's lives.
Yep.
You know, people are not going to leave without their pets. People are not going to take that their pet is a mean dog very lightly.
Nope.
I did. Initially, we had that the animal inspector, the animal control officer, could make a determination if a dog is a vicious animal. I took that away.
Okay.
She can respond to complaints. She can determine if a complaint is valid, that the dog barks too much or something.
Yeah.
But I left it up to this board to make the determination. So if somebody shall make a complaint in writing, this would be the board that is going to hear that complaint and say, yes, that's a vicious dog, or no, that's not a vicious dog.
Okay.
Do you have a
Excellent.
meeting?
Yes,
At,
but 6. But then I also know that veterans was supposed to be in here at 5:30, so I didn't know what was going on.
interesting.
It's a very popular room,
Okay,
anyway.
Do we have to be televised? Because I can adjourn the meeting and, not adjourn, I can recess the meeting and take it up in the conference room in the Board of Health office.
But then this has been going on, what happens?
I think we're
That wouldn't be
supposed
fair to the
take
people.
precedence.
No, that's supposed, yeah, so I don't know.
You should complete the meeting
Yeah.
and
Yes.
start another one another time.
Yeah.
We're supposed to-
All right, let's
We-
get
we gotta
moving.
keep going,
We
yeah.
gotta keep going then.
Yeah.
All right,
We have the room.
yep, animal issues done, solid waste, abatement request is taken care of.
One abatement request is taken care of. This one, I would argue, doesn't require a hearing because it was 100% a clerical error.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask the board to consider,
Yeah, this one was in our packet, right?
the trash bill was not sent.
Okay.
So this was not in the packet, this came to me today. Mary just asked for board approval to abate this one.
Okay.
So,
That was in our packet though, right? That's the one I
No.
think.
No, this
that-
one
that
came into
wasn't
me
in the packet?
today.
That wasn't.
what it was people moved out, new people moved in. So basically this is just switching the bill to the new people's name and taking it
Okay.
out of the old people's name.
All right,
And,
so
and
the
they
old
billed it
people
in
got-
full. They
Yeah.
billed it in full to the new people. It's just we're abating it off the old people.
Okay.
Okay, so this is just board's approval. If the board votes to approve it,
Any questions or concerns on this? It seems we're charging the new people and
right, the new people have already been billed for the amount that we're going to
So
abate.
they charged both the prior tenants and the current tenants?
They charged the prior tenants.
Yeah.
Prior tenants say, we sold that. They look it up in the registry of deeds and say, oh yeah, you did. We're going to abate the old tenant, the old owners,
They need the
and
board.
they're billing the full amount to the new owners.
Oh, because now it falls under us. We're the ones who have to say yes
we
or
have
no.
to we have to agree to it. Yes.
Okay, I need a motion.
And the motion to abate the bill sent to the previous tenants
Do we have a second?
for the full amount.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Stephen, how do you vote?
Okay,
Aye.
All right, I vote aye. 3-0 to abate the old tenants. Do we
Bill
need
to
to
be-
sign?
Somebody's got to sign. If you want to authorize me to do it, I can.
You can. I have
Right.
no problem.
Question, and I told Mary I would ask this today, on something that is very clearly a clerical error, purely 100% town fault. Is the board willing to defer to allow me to make that determination? It's, again, I don't mind bringing them before the board, but something like this was a cut and dry. There was no,
Right.
this was a clerical error.
Discussion? Any questions or concerns about that? You have any problem with if it's a cut and dry?
cut and dry now.
I
Absolutely
have
not.
no issue.
I don't
Andy,
either.
it looks
I
like
don't
it's
either.
the
You
board
got
is
it, Andy.
the board is okay if it's a cut and dry case.
If it's a case of you know, we billed it in January, it didn't get paid by February, and they're coming in March and asking for it, I want no part of that. That's the
No,
board's.
exactly. That's a board
But
decision.
if Mary comes up and says, Andy,
We
it's all
forgot.
straightened out, there's no money being lost, you
It's
know, this
just-
is
we
a
just-
clerical thing,
yeah.
and we're just switching the bill to here.
Yeah, that's kind of like we had talked about before with other stuff. If it can be done and we don't need to spend time on it in here, then
Yeah.
it's simple enough.
I mean, I think to remove the burden for cash transactions, you know, where funds are going
Yep.
back and forth, you probably want to bring it to the board, but something as simple as this,
Yeah,
you know?
makes
Okay.
sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll just report.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, you could say, oh, I had a trash abatement came across my desk and blah 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 blah. All right. Next would be discussion updates on solid waste.
All three blahs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all three. Blah blah and blah.
Blah.
Just that we've got January and February's tonnage.
How'd we do?
We are running about 27%. 27% of all waste is getting recycled.
Well, we were.
We're shooting for the 30s.
Yep.
Our original goal, if I remember right, when we initially did the single stream recycling, we were shooting for 30%. We did a quick jump from I think 12% to the low 20s. We're hovering right around 27 according to the numbers we just got in for January and February. Going forward, we are looking at recycling in the parks,
Yep.
which
that's
should be
gonna-
a huge difference because right now 100% of the parks goes out as waste, and my argument is
If we don't give them a
bottles
chance.
and cans, probably 50% of it is easily recyclable.
Yep.
So we're going to launch that program this year. We are looking at a material recycling textile recycling.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be proposing it to the schools department. I'll
Mhm.
talk to Amy tomorrow and find out where we stand on that.
Okay.
But I think she's ready to go forward with that. So that should add tonnage to the recycle side,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't take it out of the,
What you're gonna do is you're gonna add a total amount, but it's gonna all be on one side and it's gonna skew.
well, I don't think it'll take it out of the MSW because I think people are putting that in Catholic Charities already.
Exactly.
But actual physical measurable tons will be added to the recycling side.
Yeah, exactly.
So that should take it down a point or two. And also the schools are gonna get $100 for every ton that they generate. So that will be beneficial. And then I think we have to take a serious look at the town buildings themselves. Every once in a while, let's open up a dumpster and take a look. I look at the schools, they shouldn't be generating too much. Well, look at this building. Other than food waste from lunch, we should be 100% recycling. There's nothing we do that's not recycling except for plastic straps around boxes.
I mean, if you think about it, all the printer ink you can bring to Staples. On places like that, they give you
Right.
they give you a percentage back, or they do kind of programs. Anything else, a lot of times all the light bulbs go in the basement until they
Yep.
get shipped out to the until we can do our household hazardous waste day, and then those get recycled anyway. So there shouldn't be a lot coming out of the building.
Right, so I just gotta make it a point to open a dumpster lid once in a while and take a look at what's in there. I know our shredded paper goes in the dumpster because Casella doesn't want shredded paper. It
Really?
gets in the machines,
Oh, okay.
it gets ugly in there. And
Because I know there are companies like Paper Retriever who do take it, and as long as it's in a plastic bag, they will take shredded.
yeah, Casella's not set up to take it like that, and I
Okay.
believe that Allied takes, right now, all paper to Casella.
Okay.
So, I'll talk to Casella, see if there's a way to divert.
Yeah, because a lot of people
Because we shred.
do like to shred their bills at home and stuff like that.
Well,
so.
regardless, the town hall, we have a budget here, but all the bills that
all
go
that-
out.
yeah.
Is that all shredding or just strip shred or cross thread?
I'm not sure. I'll check with Casella and be able to tell you at the next meeting what isn't acceptable.
Because if they'll take cross shred,
All right, let me find out.
it may just be it all, everything.
Yeah, we had talked before about when we're talking recycling, we had talked about businesses in town, but I know that's a step. That's a couple steps we're gonna have to make. That's gonna be.
Yeah, I think we want to launch we set ourselves some goals
Mm-hmm.
for 2013, and I think we want to get deeply involved in those before we take on a project like that.
No, I know, but we had discussed in the past,
Yeah.
discussed that about different things and how to try and make it feasible for businesses to start recycling, kind of make it, not that we're going to be a total green community, but there is a lot of recycling that we're missing.
Well, our goal is green community.
Yes.
I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound callous.
Mm-hmm.
The businesses recycling don't affect our percentage.
No, I understand that.
And I don't want to make it sound like it's not important for the businesses to recycle. On the topic of our tonnage,
Yes, that
we
would.
want
that
to
would
promote our recycling.
Yes.
On a totally different topic, but equally as important.
On an environmental side, we want to look at.
We want to get the
We wanna
businesses
get
to
the
recycle.
businesses
I
to-
don't understand why a bank, who is 100% paper,
Except for like the town hall,
As a
their
trash.
lunch trash. That's it.
They
They
the
can-
bank I use, they all go out to lunch.
He's got a lot of money, so he goes to the big banks.
I go to the little banks.
All right.
They make a lot of money, so therefore I don't get it.
Any other questions or concerns on solid waste?
There was a meeting scheduled last Thursday, but it got postponed due to the snow.
What's snow? We had snow?
If you remember right, they were going to discuss either increasing revenues or decreasing costs in order to bring there's a disparity between what we're spending on trash and what we're getting in on trash, and we want to level that out a little bit. So
not
the
cost.
solid waste committee was going to discuss that at that meeting. That meeting was postponed, so hopefully I'll be able to report. When's the next meeting with the
21st.
The 21st. So at our next meeting, hopefully we'll have some sort of, at least a statement that they discussed it and got nowhere,
Okay.
or discussed it and made some progress.
All right. Inspections.
For production, we're at 71%.
Good.
The complaints that we've had since the last meeting, I think we've had one or two. Those have been checked out and investigated, and plans are in place to make corrections. We currently have people's renewal paperwork, so that is pretty much in place. So we have those being filed with everybody's certifications for food managers, so that's going well. And we have some inquiries for some new establishments. So I've been working again with some people having questions.
Very good. Quick question, Andy. This one's for you.
I feel like I'm in jeopardy.
Yeah, no kidding. Since we've had somebody on full time now for a few months, well, six or so, anyways. Have you noticed that our nuisance complaints, since we are getting to the restaurants better, the nuisance complaints dealing with restaurants, have they kind of dropped off a little bit, stayed the same, gone, you know?
I didn't bring the complaint book for the restaurants.
Oh,
it's in the
Darlene,
other room.
what would you
But
say?
she's-
Because my point was, when we were getting a lot of restaurants complaints, I said because we're at 30%. Now that we're at 70%, we're getting to these restaurants. Do you notice that a lot of those restaurant complaints, you see less? I mean, not that you hear from, but is it like when you were in other towns, is it about the same, getting 1 or 2 a week and not 12 a day?
No, it's not anything like 12 a day.
Okay.
The complaints that we're getting are, I think, complaints where, well, I mean, I can tell you, I think they're isolated incidents.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a complaint consistent of a larger
Okay.
problem. I don't know what the history is.
Yeah,
you know,
we
per
were
se,
receiving
but-
a lot of complaints, and my look on being an inspector myself in other towns, I was looking at, well, we're not getting to these places, so the complaints, some of them were complaints about the place being dirty, and then I look back and, well, we haven't been there for 7 months, 8 months, so now we're getting to them in the 6-month period. We're at 71%. When was the last time we saw 71%?
Okay.
So
that-
we
and that-
were up at one point, but that's when somebody came in and did quantity over quality, and we weren't happy with that when that person came in. So we're happy with what you're doing. I'm happy that we're at 71%, and I know it's a good 71%. It's not just getting the numbers up there. We had somebody who they pumped out 30 and 40 a week to get our numbers up, and then it just wasn't to our standards. So I'm just hoping, because what I had said was, well, people complaining because we're not getting there. Now that we're getting there, I'm expecting. There's always going to be complaints, but I'm expecting them to level out and maybe drop a little, because now we're getting into these places that we hadn't seen for 8 or 9 months. Now you're almost at the 6 month, every 6 months getting us there. So, and that's what I'm happy about.
I think what I've seen in complaints is the recent complaints have been concerns of food, reactions to food,
Okay.
illnesses due to food.
So that could be a cross-contamination, which is more
But
training.
we're not, we can't justify them.
Okay.
They're not. It could have been breakfast rather than,
By
I
the
ate
time-
at XYZ restaurant yesterday afternoon. Well,
You have to
as
trace.
this
Yeah.
board knows, a foodborne illness, yeah, some can come on as quick as 3 hours, but some of them are 48 hours.
Exactly.
So you can't 100% track it back to the restaurant. And when it's the only complaint that came in
Yeah.
regarding that restaurant, you kind of have to look at it, and yeah, we do the environmental inspection on it
Yep.
and everything, and I don't think we found one that we can quantifiably say, yeah,
Trace
this
it
could
right
have been the
back.
candidate.
Okay.
We've pretty much discounted.
Because I know some of our complaints in the past would be they walked in, the place was dirty, this was dirty, but if we're getting our inspections
A lot less
done,
of
we're not
those.
going to see that.
A lot less of those.
And that's what I'm looking
Yeah.
for is if we're at 71% and not at 27%, we're getting to these places, we're making sure they're following standard, we're making sure they're at the state minimum code, and to me, that's going to get us where we need to be. There's always going to be those complaints, like you said, about I got sick, I think I ate here, and stuff like that. I just want to make sure that it's not the cleanliness complaints. Because now we're getting to these places within the year. Before there was some place that hadn't been seen in, I hate to say it, 13, 14 months I saw in a couple cases. So,
Yeah.
and that's just because we had nobody, really. So now that we have somebody full-time, I'm hoping those will go down. And it sounds like already
I think they will.
already go down.
I think
So.
they will. Also, we're sitting 70%, 71%. I envision, everything I've researched, everything says a good quality inspector working full time can do right around 150 food outlets.
And we have 180 or
We
something.
have 180, plus Darlene is so much more to me than just a food inspector.
Oh, and I understand that.
She's my right hand. I envision we're not going to get much more than 70s to 75, and I will take 70 to 75% quality over 90% quantity any day, as long as I can keep using Dow for everything else.
No, and that's. But I mean, 71%.
So,
if you look at it,
was our goal.
The longest it's going to be at 71% is 9 months, and that's not That's not a huge deal. I see that at 71%. The way I figured out the numbers is you're looking. I think it's like 8 months and 12 days, or 8 months and 13 days is the difference. Instead of every 6 months being there, you would still get 71% of those would be done in 6 months, but you'd have a few that would follow out till about. I think I had 8 months and 12 days when I did the math. So that's huge when we hadn't gotten some places in 13 months.
We've also we've been in contact with the state, and we're investigating ways to identify some of the lesser concern restaurant or food outlets, such as I'll throw it out there, a Victoria's Secret, who really has packaged candies. They only have enough that they have it on the floor. There's no real storage in the back. So we are looking at the possibility, and we haven't decided if we want to do it yet, but of applying to the state and say, look, we've identified these 7, 14, whatever number of outlets. This is the reason we don't think they require every 6 months. We'd like to move them to 1 year. If we can do those, that will also boost the efficiency of the inspections. But again, we want to balance it against, are we losing something by doing that before we make that step? But we are looking into other ways to improve production too.
I need to take a call. Oh, excuse me for a minute.
No problem.
No problem.
Regarding nuisance complaints, last year at this time, the 12th of March, we had accepted 16 complaints, and I'm not swearing by my record keeping. But according to record, 16 complaints, and as of this time, we are sitting at 28 complaints this year.
Okay.
So we are doing essentially 60% more than last year. Having said that, out of the 28, there are only 7 that are still ongoing, and we are actively following those. So we're getting good compliance rates. But the number of complaints is up.
But that's nuisance complaints. That's across the board. That's everything.
That's nuisance complaints. But literally, it's nuisance complaints this year compared to nuisance complaints last year. So the number of complaints in general is up a good 60%.
The question on that being, is that because we're doing so well clearing these that people are calling to get them fixed and get them done?
I think as the Board of Health becomes, our goal is to become better known, let people know what we do.
And that's an issue.
As we become better known, people
starting
know
to call.
what we do.
Exactly. I mean,
so we do get the
calls.
calls.
Are any of those nuisance complaints from this year animal issues?
No, I haven't put animal issues
in there.
I haven't.
All right, because that's new to us this year. So
no, I haven't.
Okay.
A lot of them. Well, right out, I'll tell you, 10 of them were vacants.
Okay.
10 of them were vacants that we addressed.
So that puts us down to 18.
Us down to 18. So that puts us just over last year's.
Yeah, which isn't bad. So. All right. Inspector concerns. Anything, Darlene? Anything major bugging you, going wrong?
No concerns. Really, just more discussion as we get into looking at the food regulations that the board has just gone through. I think that even today when I was out, I think maybe we look at these and just maybe be open for just some tweaking of this before, when we go through the hearing process. Just because while I'm out there, I'm seeing things that, okay.
And that's why we want your input, because you're the one out the door noticing things, so that's great. All right, any new establishments? I'm not going to ask about that one location.
No donuts. No new establishments. We've had no brick and mortar new establishments. We've had a lot of temporaries that we're working with, and I'm working very closely with the Recreation and Culture Department. They had an event this past weekend, Special Olympics, that We had food, and I worked very well with the director, Ms. Pappas. So we were able to identify, you know, all the events that they hold
Yep.
that offer food. So that's going very well.
Good, excellent.
We do have 2 reviews going on right now. 2 Dunkin' Donuts are doing major renovations. Major renovations?
Yeah.
Yeah, major renovations.
Okay.
Mostly front end work, I think.
Mhm.
The 386 is that front end.
We actually have the one across from the mall
Mhm.
and the one across from Fairfield Inn.
Yep.
So those 2 will be going through some renovations, and we also have Starbucks, which will be doing a renovation pretty much for the face.
Yeah. And the other 2 Dunkin' Donuts in town probably in the the newest one on 12 and 20. I know Dunkin' Donuts every 5 years likes to change something. So I think that's this one down here in the center of town has been here about 7 years, I think. No, because I used 7 or 8 years now.
Maybe, I think Burger King closed down in...
Actually, the last renovation
You
was.
were here when Burger King.
I
They pulled
was here when they
Baskin-Robbins
opened
out of
that one.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. When they pulled Baskin Robbins out, they did do a little bit of a change because I used to work for the company that owns that
And
one.
they pulled Baskin Robbins out of where?
The Dunkin' Donuts, one by the mall. There used to be a Dunkin' Donuts Baskin Robbins combination.
Oh,
They-
Andy, when you went in, it's on the left-hand
Yeah,
side.
yeah, they got
left
rid of that
side.
and they changed. So I know that
Yep.
Dunkin' Donuts corporate likes their franchisees to do renovations every 5 to 6 years. So usually the guys that have like 20 or 30 or 100, they slowly roll them out. So if these 2 are getting done, well, the next couple of years you'll see the other ones in town slowly get moving because they change colors, they change logos, and they try and move things around. So, what about? Oh no, that hasn't come up yet. So I'm not even gonna say that because I don't want to put it out to the public in case it doesn't happen. So.
You're talking about donuts again, aren't you?
No, I'm not talking about donuts. We'll stay away from donuts. All right. The next part is communicable diseases. We had a list of open cases, or events, I should say. Steve, just to let you know, what we do is go through them. We don't. I kind of let Marion, since Marion was the only medical person on the board, I kind of just read through it and say, okay, whatever, and let her handle it. But now that you're on the board, you can discuss if you want to change the way we've been doing things. Unless you have a question, we kind of just look at it. If you see something, you say, I want to talk about this, then we discuss it. But if you look through it and say there's nothing, like if you see an outbreak, Andy will probably bring it up and say, all right, we have 30 cases of this.
Right.
But if you're comfortable just reading through it, Mary and I have been good. Just she reads through it. If she has a question, she asks. If not, we just kind of let it go.
That
Oh.
report is generated off of the Maven system, which is a state reporting system now. I have multiple ways I can run reports. I do not have individual case details readily available. If there's something you're curious about, I can get it for you. I choose not to have it because there's no reason to be printing.
Does our
general
contract
stuff.
nurse follow up on each and every one of
Our
these?
contract nurse generates those reports. She gets the report from Maven.
Right,
She jumps on Maven every day, receives reports,
yep,
does the follow-up. So she's the one that generates
Okay.
those follow-ups. And I can get into the details of any one of her case. I have clearance to get into the cases.
I think only if she has issues that
Yeah.
we would have to
Okay.
get into individual specifics.
Not a problem.
Or
So-
I can see if we see like 3 of the same disease pop up, we might want to start getting into, let's talk region, area, you know,
Sure.
see if there's something of concern. But overall, I think just a knowledge of what's going on in town is
Yep.
probably enough. Just a side note on communicable diseases, last 3 years we have been fighting and scratching to get on the Maven system. We got on the Maven system about 6 to 8 months ago. I'm truly on it for seriously. Notice came out today, the Office of Integrated Surveillance and Informatics basically are not going to give us paper reports anymore.
So you have to be on.
They
now.
are not giving it. We're ahead of the game because we're already on Maven.
So-
Everything's going to be done through Maven throughout the state now.
All right.
So it was kudos to us to get on
As early as
before
we
the
did.
curve.
Okay. All right. So at this point, we're gonna jump back to old business, the food code and the fee schedule discussions. So at this point, Darlene, if you want to go over anything you noticed that you think we need to
Can you get me that
tweak,
mouse?
Oh, yeah.
it's up there somewhere. Gotta go on the computer. So go down. There you go.
Come on. A little bit jumpy.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Food code, generally, I tried to take all of the edits that the board has recommended.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have is the compilation of basically everything you told me to take out of our proposed regs and everything that you told me to put into our proposed regs. I have come up with a couple of questions and a couple of issues.
Okay.
The board wanted us to, one of the arguments we had was, not one of the arguments, one of the debates we had was vending machines.
Yes.
And the board decided they want every location, every vending machine licensed.
What number do you have there?
Generally, I'm on second page. Actually, mine is slightly different than yours because I got my edits in. But under food establishment, 2304 definitions, and then within definitions, food establishment. The board wanted me to keep in vending machines. The state, in discussing a different issue with the state, we mentioned to them that we license vending machines. They said, "You what?" Vending machines or the vending warehouses are licensed at the state, and they don't want us to duplicate that.
Okay.
So we said, well, what about the individual vending sites? You don't go out and inspect those, you know? And they kind of indicated they don't want us playing with them.
Okay.
We have since found a couple of machines in town that do vend potentially hazardous foods. So we're reaching back to the state to see what their attitude is on. And at all times they defer to the state can do what, I mean, the town can do what they want.
Yes.
So if we want to,
they
but
don't
they are
want.
not excited about us licensing
Yes.
vending machines. We made argument, Darlene, you called them back, right? And made argument that we got a pizza oven vending machine. We've got some places that like have milk at 70 degrees, and you're not coming out here every 6 months to look at them.
Yep.
And their sense was,
Well, I think in speaking, obviously we had the discussion with you guys, and your concern is that if it's food in Auburn, we want to make sure it's being checked. In discussion with Andy and I, with the state personnel, they license vending companies. They typically will, and again, I don't want to speak for them, but my general sense from what their discussion, they know who the license, the people that are doing it the right way. So the licensed vendors, they have proper permitting done through the state, and they'll typically inspect their places where they distribute out of, and then they'll have a listing of all those places that licensed vendor operates. So they may have 40, 50 places in Auburn. When I go out, and again, I haven't been through the whole town yet, but I'm working my way through, I've kind of seen, okay, so and I make a note, we know there's maybe a snack and a soda machine at XYZ place, but in the employee break room, they might have sandwiches too. So they'll have a refrigerated vending machine. I've seen on several occasions those type of potentially hazardous food vending, so PHF vending, where things are out of date. So, you have a refrigerated item that's either gone by the date, or we can't verify, the freshness of the food, because again, I can't open up the machines, so I've got to look through the windows and so forth. Unless I'm going to buy something to take it out, I can't really inspect it. I can only visually inspect. So, in discussion with Andy, we've kind of said, we recognize the board feels that vending is important. I think vending for prepackaged as a whole is being covered by the state.
Okay.
But I think that PHF vending is something that I think is worth a second look. So even though the state would license the vendor that was putting out the PHFs, maybe the state can't you know,
They can't get out there.
they can't do those site checks for all these little places. They do them by complaint. Why not have, you know, maybe an extra set of eyes just to say, geez, you know, how about the PHF vending we kind of look at, because we don't want people, you know, in these facilities, in these factories and employee break rooms buying a sandwich, and sometimes a lot of people don't look at the date.
No.
They'll
They
buy
buy
a
a tuna
sandwich and then all of a
sandwich that
sudden
it could be-
we're getting a phone call because they're sick from a sandwich they got from a machine.
Yeah.
So,
Now my question is, would the state be okay with giving you a list of the vending places and then who vends them? Because if you went in and was just doing a spot check and said this tuna sandwich is out of date, would there be someone you could call and say, hey, by the way,
absolutely.
just to let you know,
Yeah, they
we were at this location and the food's out of date, you need to get that out of there.
they
you know?
actually encouraged, if
Okay.
if while I was out
You
and I
noticed
saw a
something.
problem, we can certainly call it in.
Okay.
Because they do respond to, you know,
Okay.
complaints, you know, just like we would.
Alright.
But Andy and I kind of had a discussion about it, and we felt like it was something important that maybe, you know, we bring it to the board's attention, obviously let you make the decision, but just let you know what I'm seeing out in the field, because we feel that, geez, these are maybe an area that the town of Auburn might want to take a little extra
Yeah.
time to say, geez, maybe we should look at that vending.
So the original stance of the board was that all vending
Yeah.
was going to be permitted. I want to open it up for discussion again, and the thoughts on the table right now are all vending machine is going to be permitted, which is the board's original stance, with the understanding that the state doesn't really want us to be
And
looking
I
at
did,
that.
you know,
Potentially hazardous food vending could be looked at as totally separate, because the state clearly, very clearly, as Darlene and I said, site vending is by complaint.
yeah, example.
So we're not going to go out there every 6 months and look at even if it's PHFs, we're not going to be looking at vending machines every 6 months.
Yeah.
And the third option would be vending machines are out for the Board of Health.
Well, I think when we had discussed it, I don't think we realized that the state, I knew the state had vending companies, but I didn't know that they're the ones who actually did the permitting. I knew that they permitted companies to fill the machines, but I didn't know that they were doing the permitting already. So I don't want to hit somebody twice. Two different. I mean, I know there are permits out there with the state permits and we permit, but that's for different reasons. I don't want to hit somebody up. You know, if they have 200 vending machines in town and they're already paying a permit fee to the state, I don't want to have to be hitting them up for so much, you know, for the group of them. But I still think we have to do something with PHFs. I don't feel, you already said you've been out there and you've noticed some stuff already out of
I have.
date.
But it's not in every machine. In other words, if there was like the Cheetos that are
Oh yeah, no,
that-
not
don't even think about them.
yeah, retail food,
Can-
prepackaged, non-potentially hazardous.
Just fresh.
Yeah, soda and chips and gum and, you know,
Yeah.
those type of machines, those aren't so much the issue.
I-
It's the sandwiches,
The tuna fish
milk.
sandwiches, the pizza oven.
The pizza oven bothers me. It just, is that one that where somebody buy, is it it's all internalized where they hit a button and the pizza comes out already cooked? Yeah.
Cool machine.
Well, they are cool. I've seen stuff like that. It just bothers me because it could get dirty inside, and if nobody's checking it,
Yep.
that's cheese, sits in an oven, sits there, something's gonna grow. Put it that way. So I don't feel comfortable saying nothing. Being a food guy, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with that. Just saying let
Right.
everything go. I mean, what else? What's your take on? I mean, Steve, do you have any comment on that?
I could see the logistics of trying to permit all the PHF machines in town to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Not only to find them, to get them to be permitted, but then to also add that onto the inspection services,
Mhm.
you know,
But
daily,
we,
daily
Think
job.
we can
Ideally, yes.
yes,
they should
because
all be
I don't want to
checked.
see, because anybody in town, if they get sick, they're gonna come to us. That's the thing is that you didn't.
But again, how does the state manage the PHF? Just manage by complaint?
Is that right?
That's our understanding of it.
Yeah. All of the site inspections are complaint driven. Whether it be I got a candy bar and it was already open,
Right.
or I got deathly ill on a tuna
And
fish
how,
sandwich.
how are some of our comparable neighboring towns throughout the state? How are they managing that?
I do not know of any town.
I don't think any
that
town.
licenses vending.
We were
Other
kind
than
of talking about it in the
Yeah.
past because we don't like open food vending. I'm not a fan of open food vending.
anybody you know
Well,
licensed vending.
Not to my
No.
knowledge.
no. We had discussed it too, and I think when we discussed before that everybody had said they didn't know anybody that did it, but my problem is you look at some of the machines where kids are getting candy out of it and those slots are nasty.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what bothers me
So
is
we're gonna-
we're doing everything with the restaurants, but we're doing nothing where people putting their hands and getting food and then eating it. So we had discussed, we didn't like the fact of like peanuts coming out of one of those or open candy, and we
Oh, no.
so we were talking about stuff like that, and that's how we got into the whole vending
Mhm, mhm.
issue.
Yeah.
And PHFs was a big thing for us. I mean, I know what a bad tuna fish sandwich can do. You know, I've seen it on both sides of it. I've done it, eaten it. And I've been on the other side of it where I've had to go and inspect the place after.
Did he just basically say he's made them and served them?
No, I've eaten it out of a machine. I mean, I lived 4 years in high school of eating out of machines. So, I mean, I've been on both sides of it where it's happened to me and I've had to go and inspect after it's happened someplace else. So, I'm nervous about the whole thing. Whether we want to take it out of the code, that's going to be a group issue for the board. I had said before, too, that when we had talked about how difficult was it going to be to get out and see these things.
I think if we're talking about every single vending machine,
Yes.
we're talking miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we put it on the company to report to us when they have a PHF machine,
Mm-hmm.
write it in the law that anybody with a PHF machine has to report it to us.
Okay, we don't have to
Um,
permit, but we should get notification.
No, I think I would go for permitting them.
Okay.
Make it a finable offense if they don't report them.
Okay.
But we got to be careful because not everybody doing business is going to read our code because most people don't license vending. So if we
Well, if we
find the name of Good Foods Vending and we send them a thing that says we require permitting of PHF machines, please report all your PHFs. Failure to report is according to our code is a fine of this.
Yeah.
And then we find Darlene's out doing inspections at Home Depot and she finds out Sunshine Foods is at Home Depot and didn't report them to us after we've notified them
then we
that they
can.
have to.
Yeah.
And I think that we can find them and make them permit.
Yeah. Because our whole goal is to keep the town safe and to keep people in town. I don't expect Darlene to be looking in every nook and cranny, but I know when she does an inspection, she is going to stop in the break room. So if it's there in the break room, it's almost like they say in full view. So you're going to notice it. You're going to write down. So while Darlene's out now, she can take down names of companies. And I know you probably already do.
I have to tell you, that's something I'm already doing.
Yeah.
So I already have on the reports, because I know that we've kind of been in discussion about these
Yep.
things. It's already information that I'm collecting.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know just off the top of my head where a couple of my PHF machines are.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can essentially, when we move forward, depending on what the board decides, I can target, okay, you have break room, okay, you got vending, okay, it's just soda and chips, no problem. Oh, you got a tuna,
Yeah,
got
you have a
PHF
sandwich machine.
Let's look at that. Because also part of the requirement from the state for these vending machines is they have to post their information
Yes.
on the machine.
Mhm.
So, and I have to tell you, some of the machines don't have postings, which is, a violation, not of ours, but,
Yeah, the state.
but we are getting information already. I'm already copying that down,
Good.
so.
And I figured you would do that anyways. I know in the past where you've inspected one of my locations, the list of questions you went down for me to fill out for you was huge and more than I had ever thought to ask. So, I mean, I know you're very meticulous about what you do and you get it all done, so I'm not worried about that. So, just how many PHF machines do you think you've come in contact with just going around?
We're never going to catch them all.
No.
Well, no,
The
I'm
reason
not.
we're
no-
never going to catch them all is Darlene doesn't go into FedEx for
Oh,
any reason.
I
So
understand
they're
that.
vending, they're going to get away
But-
with it until
But
somebody
in just in some of the break rooms she's been in, is there more than 10 so far that you've run into?
I'd say maybe 6 to 8.
Yeah. So I'm figuring even in the places that Darlene steps into, I'm figuring we're not going to see more than 14 in town, if that many, in the places that you already go to. So right there, we've caught maybe 12 to 14 machines.
Well, here's the thing too, here's something to think about is if,
sorry.
That's
okay,
okay.
so we've been in contact with the state. We've been in contact with the state. If
Can I
we,
interrupt before you take
sorry.
off?
Yes.
Did you read through this code? Is there anything disturbing in this code?
Nothing, although the PHF machines and vending in themselves certainly is an issue I think we need to look into, certainly keep discussing a little bit, but nothing else that really jumped out at me.
Okay, so we won't close this out
No, we
until
can.
we have one more meeting, and we'll block out a good half hour to discuss this code.
Absolutely.
What we can do is we'll just finish up our discussion here and then step away from it and just look into the next part.
I'll try to keep next meeting, I'll try to keep it brief so
Yeah.
that we can block out a half hour.
And
And second question,
I had a question.
4:30, does it work for you?
Yeah, that's my question. Would 5 o'clock be a better start time?
On Mondays it would be tough, 4:30s
What?
would be best on Mondays.
4:30 would be best, because you go after here, is it where you go someplace else?
Family needs.
Okay, okay,
6:30,
Monday works, 4:30 to 6:30?
most Mondays.
okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll look
But
ahead at that
we
then.
can talk that next
That's fine.
meeting. Great,
Not a problem.
I thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve.
I'm
So-
just thinking if in this discussion, if we, whatever the board decides, if you decide that you want to permit PHF vending, we can also notify the state and say, hey, MDPH, your vending unit, just to let you know, I don't know how many other towns do it, but Auburn is going to have an additional regulation licensing PHFs. So if you have, your listing of your licensed vendors for Auburn, and you know that they have PHFs, can you just let us know? We can send a notification to them.
Yeah,
Even if they don't know they have PHFs,
every
just give
vending
us a list of
company.
everybody who does business in Auburn,
Yeah.
and we will send a letter to them saying, do you have PHFs?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like you said, maybe 70% are gonna say, okay, let me just do the thing because they don't want to pay a fee if there's a charge later for us finding something.
Yeah.
Because all we need is a place like FedEx, and not to throw FedEx out there, but you already said you don't know if FedEx has one because it's not a food place that we're gonna go to on a 6-month period. If we get a phone call saying, I got sick, where do you work? Oh, I got a sandwich out of FedEx. Well, okay, we don't have a listing if they have PHF. We go in there, find out it is a PHF. Now you're looking at, okay, you're not following state procedures, number one, to make sure your food's being rotated or whatever.
Yep.
And now
Right.
you didn't do this. So it's going to I think it's going to open up there. Because now if you get a call from someone who says, oh, I get sick, I ate a vending machine, you're going to be like, oh, call the state.
Yep.
And they don't want to, they want to deal with local because nothing against the state, but I've called them for other things and sometimes they don't have the time to, okay, let me take that information. You don't feel like you can, but if you can call someone in town, you feel more comfortable, people feel more comfortable in town.
But my question is, how are you going to do all of these things? That you do all the inspections that you do, plus,
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say I'm not gonna say it's not additional work, but in the course of the inspection of the places that I know, I mean, right now, we know that we have vending at certain sites. I mean, as part of going through a place, we
you
ask,
could do that.
And it is going to add burden to the office,
Yes.
but the reality is, we're going to deal with the burden. We're going to, whatever it takes,
Right.
if it means we're doing 69% instead of 71%, at least we're doing 69% efficiently.
Okay,
The
good.
primary care is this a law that we should put in to protect public health? If we shouldn't be considering to protect our workload, we should be,
I'm just bringing it up,
No,
just so the fact
I
that she
get that, but
is
we
one
want to make sure
person.
we want to make sure that what we put in here is because we want to protect public health. So
Okay.
if we think it's critical to public health,
Yep.
we should consider licensing PHF machines.
Okay, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I think
Just
that's-
looking
but
out
that's-
for our health.
Yeah.
No, I'm not, I'm not trying to. I'm sorry if I came off cutting, but that
Yeah.
wasn't my intent. My intent was to regardless
I
of the burden,
understand that.
regardless of the burden on us,
I
If it's
I-
something,
we'll crush under the pressure, but we'll
You
do
will.
it.
well, you know something, as we build more work, we're going to have to find more staff. The workload gets too much, but anyways, we can't make a final decision on this. I don't feel comfortable until Steve can be
Okay.
able to give his input, so I think if you block out some time, we can finish that.
I'll keep the agenda as short as I can next week.
Do
on
you want
two weeks.
to, also, since he's not here, because he may have some information on the fee schedule. I mean, we got a copy of the
I
fee
really
schedule.
just wanted to introduce, we
Okay.
gave a copy of the fee schedule. A couple of things Darlene and I have already come across. Nonprofit organizations, we have to find out to what extent, but we ran across a law that says that we can permit them, but we can't charge.
Really?
So
I've seen all these other states. I mean, other towns too. Oh no, it's churches. It's something different. No, a nonprofit organization.
Nonprofits, churches, we are not supposed to charge according to this law we found. So we have to delve into that.
So that's
that
your.
might mean,
is that your like your Knights of Columbus, your Elks? And
that's
stuff
what
like
we got to delve into. What define nonprofit for me? Yeah.
Because I know, I don't know about some of the other clubs in town, but I know the Elks. Everything over the cost of doing business goes right to charity. So is that considered nonprofit? Because they don't. We don't have.
Right, we've got 3 nonprofits, I believe.
Yeah.
The Elks, the Tuttle Post, and the
Knights.
Knights are out. Knights sold their building.
Oh, did they sell their building? I knew they
So
were.
even though they still exist, they no longer
Yeah.
have food service.
Okay. What about the
Masons.
Masons. They knew they were nonprofit too. So.
Those are our big 3 that I'm curious, are they included in this? In this?
I mean,
non-fee?
if all the money comes in and goes right back out, and they're not paying any, they're not
And every church.
in every church.
So we've got to,
I'll need a copy of that law when you find it.
once we, I set it on my desk.
I'll have to get a copy of
I've
that.
had nightmares about it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things in here we've already looked at that we can't charge for this. We should be charging for this. And I wanted to throw that one out there for consideration right away. But essentially, I just gave this fee schedule so that the board knew what we were charging right now.
That's the one that's
we're
right
going
now.
to go in. Yeah, we're going to go in and we're going to look at this thing.
It's going to be
And
chopped.
we are going to chop some of them down, build some of them up,
We have to add some fees.
And
Yeah.
add
create
some.
fees.
We'd seen some before that were missing that we thought we should have
We
in there.
introduced the seasonal special events permit. I forget what I called it, but we haven't made a
Yeah.
price for that yet.
Okay.
You know. And,
So this is
and
just-
I also have to go to town council to see if we adopt our own fees or if we just recommend them to selectmen.
Okay.
So
All right.
there's a few things, but I wanted to get the fees to you so that you could start looking at them and thinking
Okay.
about them. We want to adopt new fees the same time we adopt the food code so that we only have to have 1 day of hearings. All that fun stuff.
It's getting loud out there. All right. So we have that, and then we can bring that up, and when you guys put together a secondary one that you want to do. that
We have a study on how long, basically when we were
How
talking
much time?
regionalization, we also did, and Darlene sat in on this, a huge Excel spreadsheet of how long does a grocery store take, so we're gonna sit down with that Excel spreadsheet,
And then work it into that.
and we're gonna figure out, probably estimating $50 an hour, considering that
Paperwork, everything that goes into each
benefits, a
Yeah.
person's time.
Yep.
Um,
That'd be good.
one. Now, are you
and we're gonna
now
base the fees on that. Some
Are
of
you
these
gonna-
fees will go down, some will go up.
on that? You're going to base the fees on okay, you go there twice a year, so this is the total. You're going to do twice a year plus a follow up.
We're gonna look at it as twice a year plus a follow-up, but we're gonna try to honestly look at what it costs us
Okay.
and then take a legitimate look at what the number is. If we're looking at $2,000 and $3,000 permits, we really gotta take a look at it and say, let's not get ridiculous.
Exactly.
But we're gonna start with
Because I've
an
looked.
honest dollar amount for an honest hour's
Because
work.
I've looked at the numbers and I could see that some of these going up. I don't know about the haulers and stuff like that. That has nothing to do with me. I don't
No,
know
but
as
like
much as.
food service, less than 75 seats, more than 75 seats. There's a $100 difference.
Yeah.
But you have a Chili's restaurant, which I think is less than not Chili's, what's the one, the KFC is less than 75 seats.
Yep.
But the kitchen is as big as Applebee's,
Yep.
which is more than 75, so the
seats.
job is the same.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we've really got to figure out how to break the restaurants down rather than seats
Yeah.
into maybe square footage of kitchen. I mean, we got to find
Yeah.
something that justifies what we do.
Yeah.
We spend as much time in a KFC as we do in an Applebee's.
Exactly.
Um,
And because there's a difference in seating. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of places, some of the takeout places have bigger kitchens than some of the sit-down places, and
And
you know,
the reason being, they base their seating.
On the fee.
well, seating.
No, they base their seating
On
on
parking.
parking.
That's how this town goes.
These are how many parking spots I have.
For
so
every
that's how many
for
seats
every
I'll have.
4-person table in the town of Auburn, you have to have 2 car spots.
Say it one more time.
For every 4-person table, you have to have 2 car spots.
Oh.
So if you know you have,
Is that planning board?
I don't know who does it, but I remember when I had my
that's
restaurant,
the parking schedule.
parking
That's-
schedule, so.
Yep.
So if you have a smaller piece of land and you can only fit so many cars, you say, okay, I only have 20 spots, I can only have so many tables.
Right, so you base your tables on the number of
And
spots.
so,
If
and
you
we're
have-
basing our fees on the number of seats, which is based on the number of spots, which has nothing to do with the size of the building.
Right,
Who started that?
Oh, it's been in town for I don't know how
Do
many
the other
years,
towns do this as
yes,
Some-
every town
yeah.
has parking.
Yeah.
Parking schedule.
but not every town's
And the logic
board of
is-
health is based on 75 seats or something. I might have some of my towns as square footage.
Yeah.
So,
And we may look at that, we may look at.
and
just
square footage of the
generalizing
whole
rest-
restaurant. It's
Yeah.
not square footage, just the
Auntie
kitchen.
Annie's
So,
is a small place.
all right.
They pay
Anything
$100.
else?
We're good.
KFC is a big place.
Yeah, I'll block out a half hour to discuss this code next time.
Okay.
Hopefully we are real close.
All right. So right now our next meetings are set for March 25th at 4:30, and then we have 2 April dates of April 8th and April 22nd. Does that seem at this point to work for everybody? I don't know. April 22nd. Why is that?
No,
That's
so
not the.
Andy, just keep in mind. in 2
That's
weeks,
not the,
we're gonna
that's not the
Yep.
holiday.
No, I'm making sure.
No, I already checked.
All right. What is the holiday?
Yeah, we're gonna keep our meeting.
It's the 15th,
Oh, it's not in my calendar. 'Cause
third,
That's the.
third Monday.
All right. The 15th is Patriots Day. That's the.
I might have the.
'Cause that's the
When the
that's the
marathon
marathon. Yeah, I'm not having a meeting the marathon day and the Red Sox game. So.
I definitely am available April 8th.
Mhm.
I have 1 week off in April, and I can't remember if it's the 15th or the 22nd. I think
All
I
right.
got the 20th.
If you can check on that and then get back to us.
I'll have it at the next meeting.
Okay, and we'll. So right now, why don't we?
If I can't be there, and I mean, I'll brief Darlene.
She knows more than you do, anyways.
why I
hired her. Okay.
That's
So why don't we
on
set
TV.
March 25th at 4:30 and April 8th at 4:30 if that works for everybody. Okay. At this point, I will take.
Hopefully,
I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Second the motion, and we are adjourned. Have a